Good morning, America. How are ya? Monday Morning Rail. Hi, I'm Denny Jelsma, and I'm at the world famous Jacksonville Terminal Railroad Museum in beautiful Jacksonville, Florida, where the sun always shines and running trains is an absolute pleasure. And you know what we do on Monday? You guessed it. We do show and tell, and show and tell is always brought to you by Jelsma Graphics. Jelsma Graphics has been making embroidered railroad clothing since 1985, almost 39 years, almost 40 years. So if you need hats, jackets, shirts, club shirts, whatever, we do onesies and twosies. Give us a call. Go to our website at jelsma.com. And with all that being said, show and tell starts right now.
Hi, I'm Greg Turn, and we're going to talk a little bit about a find that a friend of mine named JP found at the last DeLand train show, which was in January. But first, a little background. In steam days, transfer runs, where railroads would be shipping cars between different yards, were usually handled by old steam engines that were no longer suitable for mainline service. They were just running out their last days in this rather heavy, dirty transfer work. But obviously when when the railroad started to dieselize, there were no old diesels that could take the place of these old steam engines in transfer service. The Elgin, Joliet, and Eastern were looking for a replacement for their transfer engines, but they weren't really interested in what EMD had proposed, which basically was a switcher combined with a cabless switcher, which is sometimes called a cow and calf, or sometimes they would combine a switcher with two cabless and they had a herd. But EJE wasn't interested in that. They wanted something a little bigger. They didn't want to have to use two engines. So they came to Baldwin. They had purchased Baldwin switchers before and must have been significantly happy with them. And anyway, Baldwin and EMD came and developed what was known as EJ&E number 100, which was their first DT66 2000, or that's diesel transfer, 6-axle, 6-motor, 2,000 horsepower. It was 70 and a half feet long, 363,000 pounds, bi-directional center cab, placed in service May 13th, 1946. And Baldwin thought maybe there's a niche for this type locomotive for other people, and it kind of started out pretty well. In 1947, they received an order for only one, but that was from the Cotton Belt. Santa Fe bought one, and the EJ&E came back with a repeat order for 25. So Baldwin felt pretty comfortable about this. In 1948, Minneapolis, North Hill, and Southern bought 5. Trona bought 2. As an aside, they had considered centipedes, but certainly the center cabs were a much better choice given the reliability of centipedes. Santa Fe came back with another order for 5. In 1949, the Duluth, South Shore, and Atlantic got 3. EJ&E ordered, and in 1950, the last orders came in. EJ&E bought 1 more, and Duluth, South Shore, and Atlantic bought 1 more. It's safe to say probably the biggest disappointment Baldwin had was their best customer, the Pensy, didn't buy any of them. In fact, they went to Lima and bought 22 locomotives that were very close to the Baldwins, except they were 2,500 horsepower. So when Baldwin redid their their lineup, they included the RT624 in their 1950 new lineup. That was basically the same engine, but it had 2,400 horsepower. Pennsylvania Railroad did buy 23 of them. Minneapolis, Northfield, and Southern came back and bought one more, and that was the end of Baldwin's transfer diesels. Okay. One of the big problems was that some of the sales were probably stolen by Fairbanks Morse's Trainmaster, which had the same horsepower in a more compact body and with only one prime mover. Now we can come here and look at this model, painted up as one of the Penske DT 624s. This is a printed body over, we're not sure what mechanism is in it, but it came as an unpainted shell. JP painted it, put the decals on it, added horns and a few other details to bring it up to this. And this is pretty much the way they would have looked. Unfortunately, it's probably, the paint on it is a little light for runs with green, closest we could come to.
Greg,
Yeah.
I looked at this and it has a Hobby Time drive.
Okay.
With a flywheel, and the body is a 3D printed, so it's a very nice model.
Yes, thank you. Okay, and like I said, I really like Baldwin diesels. I'm jealous that he found it and I didn't. And now a little more about these. By 1971, all the transfer diesels were gone, except for a couple on the EJ and E, but they had been either re-engined by EMD or they had been re-engined by Baldwin's using the same prime mover that was in the DT 624. So maybe they don't count. Minneapolis, Northfield, and Southern still had two in operation, one of which has been saved at the Illinois Railroad Museum, and that was it, except for Trona number 51 and 52 out in the California desert, where they had been joined by AS 616's number 52, which was bought new, and number 53, which was bought used from the Southern Pacific. And they were still hauling their heavy trains of potash and borax to the Southern Pacific interchange at Searles. And therein lies a tale. In the fall of 1971, I was a sophomore at Franklin and Marshall College. A tall blonde freshman named Pete joined me as the tuba section for F&M's band. At one of the first football games, both of us were more interested in what was going on in the tracks outside the stadium than we were what was going on the football field. And that started 3 years of bicycle trips around Lancaster taking pictures. We would ride the train to football games whenever we could, and our sousaphones would ride the band bus, but we would take the train and meet them there. In 1971, after Pete graduated, his parents gave him a trip, and I was included along. We went 18,000 miles in 9 weeks and spent every day basically chasing trains, and one of the places we ended up was in Trona. And at that time, I have some pictures of, here's a picture of number 50 at Trona waiting for its train. Then we have, now they're on the way south out of Trona headed for Sears. As you notice, we've got 50, 52, and 53 on this freight headed to the Southern Pacific Interchange. And then this is one I really like. Here we have number 50 coming by an abandoned water tank in at Searles. So that was that part of the trip. And that's the way it was in 1971 in a red Volkswagen Bug with no heater and whose starter didn't work. It's a good thing it was easy to push start. Thank you.